Eileen Bayer, the fam here. Welcome to the last edition on our series of epilepsy. And in today's ending, we are going to be talking about general first aid for all seizure types. Because all the knowledge you have about epilepsy and everything else is not complete unless you know how to handle a seizure, whether you're the person having a seizure or it's one of your loved ones. You need to know what to do because there are a lot of misconceptions about seizures. So we're going to clarify everything in that, and let's get started. The very first thing you need to do for general first aid for all seizure types is number one, stay with the person and start timing the seizure from start to finish. So you're going to need a watch or your phone and time it because the amount that the seizure lasts is important, which we'll get to later. So number one thing to do for first aid is stay with the person and time the seizure. Remain calm. It will help others to stay calm too. Talk calmly and reassuringly to the person during and after the seizure. It will help as they recover from the seizure. Okay, and that is so true. I know from experience with my late husband, when they hear a calming voice, they're more calm and they can get back to normal quicker. Check for medical ID. Most people that have seizures will have a bracelet on their wrist or an ID necklace, or they'll have a card in their wallet. You always want to check because on there it has vital information that you're going to need to know if you end up having to call 911. Look at the watch and time the seizure, like we said, from beginning to the end of the active seizure. Okay? It has to be from beginning to end. It can't be just a little bit. You have to time the whole seizure, and I'll get into the reason why later. Timing the seizure will help you determine if emergency help is needed. While most seizures only last a few minutes, seizures can be unpredictable. Some may start with minor symptoms but lead to loss of consciousness or a fall that could cause injury, and other seizures may end in seconds. 2. Keep the person safe. That's very important. Their safety has to be number one. And I'm going to go over the things you can do to keep them safe. Move or guide them away from anything harmful or a sharp object. Like if there's a coffee table, move the coffee table away if you can't move them. Any sharp weapons like a knife or anything that they could use to injure themselves or they can get injured on, you want to make sure that's clear, that there's nothing around them that they can hurt themselves with. If a person is wandering or confused, help them clear of dangerous situations. Such as, if they're wandering and maybe they're going to cross the street, gently guide them away. Anything that could be dangerous to them or potentially dangerous, gently guide them away from that for their safety. For an example, like I said, traffic. If they're wandering and kind of confused and they're about ready to cross the street and it's not safe for them, guide them away to the sidewalk. Have them walk down the sidewalk or something in some place where you can get them seated until they can get back to their senses. Okay, another example is a train or a subway platform. You know, like if they're going like on a train track and they're dazed and confused because they had a seizure, just imagine how horrific it would be them because they're not in the right state of mind crossing when the bell goes off. Okay? Or, you know, the subway. So those are the things, anything dangerous like that, guide them away from it if you can. Because that's very important for their safety, and that's the number one thing. When somebody has a seizure, you want to look out for their safety. That is so important. Encourage people to step back and give the person some room. Waking up to a crowd of people can be embarrassing and confusing for a person after a seizure. And that's in any type of emergency situation. They show it on TV and you'll see it all the time. When emergency personnel, first responders show, like firemen and policemen, they do a crowd control and get people to step back to give the people some room so they're not so, you know, aggravated or emotional, whatever, because everybody's there. They need room to breathe. Make sure they have that room for their safety. Ask someone to stay with them until further help arrives. If you cannot stay and there's one other person, before you leave, make sure there is somebody that can stay there until further help comes. That's so important. Okay, turn the person on their side if they are not awake and aware. And what they're talking about is you turn them on their side like this. That position prevents them from anything. It prevents them from choking on their saliva, because as they drool, they lose that, you know, that control. So if you don't turn them on the side, they can literally choke on their saliva. And it also helps for it more relaxing. Okay? Make the person as comfortable as possible. And you can see in this illustration what they're talking about. You put something on underneath their head. You have their arms and their body, and it's the most comfortable position you can do. Okay? Loosen tight clothes around the neck. Like this gentleman you see in the picture, he has a tie. If somebody has a tie on, loosen the tie. If they have a button shirt, unbutton a couple of the buttons so it's loose and not feeling restricting on them. That's very important. All these things that I'm telling you, everything that is mentioned is so, so important for the person's safety and comfort. If they are aware, help them sit down in a safe place, which is what we were talking about. If they're awake and aware, but they're wandering, find a small spot for them to sit until they can get themselves completely together. But don't leave their side. Don't say, okay, I got you seated here. Just stay here. You stay with them. That is so important that you stay with them. Okay? If there's a risk of falling or having a convulsive seizure, otherwise known as a tonic-clonic seizure, you want to do these three things. Lay the person down on the floor, put something small and soft under their head, and turn them on their side with their mouth pointing towards the ground. This prevents from blocking their airway and helps the person breathe more easily. So this is what they're talking about right here. You see they have them on their side, there's a pillow underneath their head, and the mouth is pointed downward so that they can breathe more easily. And those are the very proper steps that you need to do. During a convulsion, it may look like the person has stopped breathing. This happens when the chest muscles tighten during a tonic phase of the seizure. In other words, when they're having a seizure, their muscles stiffen and tighten, but they're still breathing. It's just that their muscles are tight. Sort of like when you have a muscle cramp, it tightens up. Well, that's what happens in a seizure. But it does not mean that they're not breathing. Okay? As this is part of the seizure, enter the muscles. After the seizure is done, the chest muscles will relax and their breathing will continue, normally. Rescue breathing is generally not needed. Remember that, generally not needed during these seizures and induce changes in a person's breathing. So when they have it, you usually do not have to do CPR. Just stay there and watch over them, and when the seizure is done, you can put your hand or look at their chest and see if their chest is rising and falling. If you can't see the chest, you can put your hand over there, not like this, but like this, and see if you can feel them breathe. But most of the times that's the case, is when I'm done with the seizure, their breathing goes back to normal. Number 4, which is very, very important, and the reason I'm going to go into a little bit about this, because there's been a myth about this part here, and we're going to dispel the myth with this and the reason why. Do not put anything in the mouth of somebody having a seizure. I can't emphasize that enough. There's been an old wives' tale that when a person has a seizure, they can swallow their tongue. They cannot swallow their tongue. And as you see, if you do the procedure correctly and roll them on their side with something underneath their head, there's no way. Even when they're on their back, there's no way they're going to swallow their tongue. The only thing is they would choke on their saliva. But the thing is you put anything in their mouth during a seizure, you could cause damage to them more than you know. And I'll tell you why. The jaw and the face muscles may tighten during the seizure, just like the chest muscles. All their muscles tighten. That's what a convulsion is your muscles tighten up. Okay? And that will cause the person's, what happened here, I'm buffering. Alright, sorry about that, I was buffering. But anyway, their jaw muscles will tighten up, just like their chest muscles. And if you put something in their mouth, they could break it and swallow it and do damage and literally choke on that. Or, like if it's a spoon, they'll clamp down on it and they can bust their teeth. You don't put anything in the mouth of somebody having a seizure. Okay? Don't worry, they can't, like I said, they can't swallow their tongue, so there's nothing to worry about. Do not give them water, medicine, or food. And what I mean by medicine is no liquids and no pills. No food, no drink, nothing like that. It's the same thing as when a person's unconscious. You do not give them anything that has to be administered through the mouth, because they can choke on it and it literally die. So you do not want to do that. Okay? Now, if they have a medical card and if they have the emergency team says to do this or that when you have to call them, which is very rarely, some people may have a shot that they take or whatever and may carry a pen. That's up to the medical team to deal with, but most epileptics that have seizures normally have pills for medication. So you don't want to give them that, okay? Do not restrain them. You don't want to hold them down, because when they come out of the seizure, they're just going to see a bunch of people trying to hold them down. They're not going to understand what's going on. They're going to be more agitated and probably more aggressive. And I can attain to that, because I remember with my late husband, when he had his brain tumors, before they removed the tumors, when he had a seizure, he was with a bunch of friends, and they had called me, and they told me that I had to hurry up over there because he was having a seizure, and they couldn't control him. I got over there, and somebody was holding his arms, somebody was trying to hold his legs down, and he was being very combative. And I told him, I said, move away, get away, get away, get away, get away. You're not doing it right. You do not try to hold him down. He doesn't know what's going on. All he feels is that something's wrong. He's losing his freedom. He feels like his life is threatened. So yes, he's going to fight. I said, move back, let me next to him. I got next to him. I talked calmly to him. I told him it was me. I reassured him that he's okay. He wasn't combative to me at all. Another thing that people don't realize, if you get too close and you do not speak calmly to the person and you try to restrain them, they're going to get a grip. They're going to fight, okay? But when they do, it's going to be what a lot of people call a death grip. They're going to grab a hold, and you're not going to be able to get loose, because they're in the seizure still, and their muscles are tightening, and you could cause damage to him and yourself. It's so much better just to talk to him calmly. Reassure him that he's okay. Let him know that you're there, watching over him. The calmer the voice, the better it is. It's sort of like, okay, when you're stressed, the sound of music or water relieves stress. When a person has a seizure, they need to hear a calming voice. They don't need to be restrained and held down. They just need a calming voice to say, I'm right here, you're going to be okay, you're all right, I'm right here. And just keep reassuring them. But you don't need to pin them down. That is so bad. Okay? Trying to stop movements or forcefully holding a person down, like I said, will cause them to be agitated or and aggressive. Okay? They don't fight on purpose, but they feel like their life is threatened, so you don't want to hold them down. If a person tries to walk around, let them walk around, but make sure it's in a safe and closed area if possible. Okay? 6, stay with them until they are awake and alert after the seizure. Most seizures end in a few minutes. Injury can occur during or after a seizure, requiring help from other people. If a person appears to be choking, again, turn them on your side and call for help. If they are not able to cough and clear their ear passages on their own or are having breathing difficulties, don't put your finger in their mouth like you would just a person unconscious. You don't want to do that with somebody having a seizure. You cannot clear their airway that way. You try to put your finger in their mouth when they're having a seizure, you're going to lose a finger. They're going to bite it off and not know it until after. And it's going to be your fault. Okay? If they're choking and they're having difficulty breathing, call 911 immediately. Don't play a hero and end up with 3 fingers and a thumb instead of 4 fingers with the thumb. Okay? Be sensitive and supportive, as I said. The more sensitive you are to them and more supportive, the more calmer and quicker they can recover. And ask others to be the same. If you have onlookers there, and people are trying to say, oh, I know them, do like I did. Tell them to back away, tell them to be sensitive, and to follow your instructions. Because that, we're here for their safety. When they're with us, if it's our loved ones, we want them to be safe. If it's a stranger that you just see having a seizure, you would want the same courtesy if something happened to you. Give them that same courtesy. Okay, seizures can be frightening for the person having one, as well as for those around them. So keep this in mind. Always reassure the person that they are safe. Okay? Once they are alert and able to communicate, tell them what happened in a very simple terms. Don't go in great details. Once a person comes out of a seizure and they're alert and they're able to talk, and they say what happened, just be simple. Just say, hey, it's okay, you had a seizure. We took care of you. Everything's okay now. Don't worry about it. You're fine. That's all you have to do. You say you had a seizure. We made you comfortable. We put you on your side and put something under your head so you wouldn't hurt yourself. We removed all the obstacles. We just wanted you to be safe because we love you. Reassure them. Don't make them feel unwanted. And I'll give you another situation because this has happened. And I know how my husband felt when it happened to him when he was alive. When he had the seizures, we at one time we were selling, what was it? I think it was Amway. Yes, we were selling Amway. And our Amway distributor that's right over us, okay, was having like a cosmetic party because she was into the cosmetic end part of it. And she invited us to go because we were right underneath her. So we went, and Ron had a seizure. Well, right after when he came out from the seizure, she told him and myself, she said, you guys are going to have to leave. We didn't know what was going on. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't damage any of their property because he just lied on the floor. I understand she didn't know nothing about it, but it made him feel bad. Where he never wanted to go out because he was afraid what was going to happen. What were people going to think of him if he had a seizure? If he was going to go through that again? That's why you always reassure the person. They want to be treated just like you and I do. Okay? Everybody wants the same type of treatment. We don't want to be treated any differently. Whether they have a physical disability or a mental disability. They want to be treated equal, just like anybody else. All anybody asks for, no matter what in life, is to be understood. So if we can learn and understand somebody when they're having a problem, we can help that problem and help manage it better by understanding it. You don't want to alienate the people. You don't want them to make them feel bad because they have this disability, whether it's physical or mental. That's not right. That's judging with deeds and not the heart. You want to judge from the heart, not the eyes. And these are some of the reasons why. Okay? So offer to stay with them until they are ready to go back to a normal activity. Or call someone to stay with them. Now, when to call 911? There are certain cases when you do need to call 911, and I'm going to cover it, and then this is going to be the end. Okay? When a seizure lasts longer than 5 minutes, and that's why you need to time the entire seizure. Don't guesstimate at it. You need to time it. If the seizure lasts over 5 minutes, call 911 immediately. If they have repeated seizures, in other words, if they have a seizure, and then maybe within after like 30 seconds they go into another seizure, call 911 immediately. If the seizure occurs in water, whether it's at a beach or in a tub or in a shower, because it doesn't take much water for a person to drown when they're having a seizure. Because what happens, even in the shower, let me give you an example. If they're in the shower, they have a seizure, they could fall down, hurt themselves. They're lying in the bottom of the tub, although the water's coming down, okay? That little bit of water that's getting in their throat can fill up their lungs and they can drown, because that's what drowning is your lungs fill up with water, so there's no room for air. Okay? If they're having difficulty breathing after they have their seizure, if they're like, or you see not normal breathing after the seizure, then call 911 immediately. If they're injured, pregnant, or sick, call 911 immediately. If it's a person's first time having a seizure, say they've never ever had a seizure in their life and this is the first seizure they had, call 911 immediately, because you don't know what's causing it. It could be a brain injury going on. You don't know. Okay? So don't play a doctor, just call 911. Of course, stay with them, but while you stay with them, call 911 immediately. Okay? If a person does not return to their usual state, what that is after they have their seizure, after a little bit of time, if they don't come back to normal and they seem constantly disoriented, like they have amnesia, call 911. Or if the person, after they have the seizure, they're awake and alert, if they say please call 911, then do just that and call 911. And that's everything on seizures. Before we go, can I please ask everybody to head over to my page, the community page, because as you know, every mental health illness that I cover, I let you choose what you want to learn about next. What matters to you? What's important to you? So head over to either my community page or my Twitter, and there's a poll on both of them on what you want me to cover next. And because the next video on this series, because this is the last one, will not start until next week, because I always like starting a new video series fresh in the week instead of in the middle or the end of the week. So the next one will start Monday. So you have 4 days. That's plenty of time to decide out of the choices that I gave you what ones you have. But before we go, let me leave you with this, like I always say. To remember to always see with your heart and not your eyes. Because what the heart sees is what matters. What the eye sees is just a shell. That's not what makes the person. What makes the person is what's on the inside. And what's on the inside, the eyes cannot see. Only the heart can. Okay? And remember to always be kind to one another, because your words that come out of your mouth can be a two-edged sword. They can lift somebody up or bring them down. And if you bring them down, you don't know where that person's been. You haven't walked a mile in their shoes. So you don't know what type of day, what type of life they had. That one comment that you didn't think was really bad, but it was, could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And by that I mean, they may have been so bad where they just wanted to give up on life. And the words that came out of your mouth, if weren't uplifting, encouraging, or inspiring, could be the words that ends their life. So instead, think before you speak and strive to encourage, uplift, and inspire, because we all need uplifting. We all have bad days, and we don't know what each other's going through. Lift somebody up. Bring them into your arms. Let them know, you matter to me. You count. You're important. Don't bring them down. So let me leave you with these last fleeting words for the day. As you learn to see with your heart and not your eyes, remember, you are important to me. You matter to me. And I love you and accept you for who you are. My arms will reach around you and grab you and hug you, because I love you for you. So, until I see you next, have a great and awesome day.